All right, on this Thirsty Thursday, we have a very special guest. She's a featured writer in 2 volumes of the Feminine Macabre, a talented blogger and regular travel bug, documenting her paranormal investigations and adventures with all her dedicated ghoul friends. I'm super excited to welcome Courtney Eastman, aka the Ghoul Guide, to Spooky Happy Hour.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, but before we get into it today, for those who are watching and listening, if you find yourself keep coming back to watch and see what we're up to, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and also hit that notification bell, because if you want to keep seeing what we're up to, you don't want to miss a spooky moment. Now, the biggest question of the day. What are you drinking?
Just iced coffee.
Nice.
In my Waverly Hills mug.
Oh, cute.
She got that spooky mug going on.
I do. I'm not that much of a drinker. And I don't think I have like any like fancy like spooky glasses around the house, but I do collect like haunted mugs from mugs from like haunted locations that I've been to. So
how many do you have?
The collection.
How many do you think you have?
Only like a handful.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I was gonna say, I wonder if like all of them like sell them, because it would be cool to just collect them from all the places that you go. But I'm sure not all of them do. But that would be awesome.
No, not the abandoned ones or the ones that are just starting out, but
right.
I've from like Trans-Allegheny, Trans-Allegheny, Waverly. My friends just grabbed me one at the Crescent when they were down there in the winter. So
nice.
Just grabbing them from everywhere.
Well, I must say, like, my favorite thing about, like, the stuff that you do post is, like, the then and now type of segment. So even when you are in these, like, places that are...
the then and nows from the homestead actually right here.
Oh, amazing!
Awesome! I love them. I just, like, I like to see what it did look like then, and just, like, you standing in that spot. It's super cool. And, now I'm in, like, the little Ghoul Friends channel, so I don't miss a single one of them. And I'm like, ooh, I get to vote on some stuff? Yes, please.
Oh my god, there are so many days where I don't know what to post just because I feel like I've done it all and I don't want to like repeat myself. So I just like go in the Ghoul Friends chat that we have on Instagram and like, all right guys, what do you want to see? And then you guys just kind of like point me in the right direction, which is great. You guys
and I mean you have so much to share, which is like like thanks for letting us be a part of it. Super cool.
Right? I mean, I always feel like I share like the same stuff, especially like with the then and nows. I always feel like I do the homestead, but that's like the most that I have. So I love getting the chance for you guys to like decide on what content you want to see, especially like with my followers and people who are in the chat. I know like Instagram's like kind of weird where they don't show your stuff to your followers. So like this is just my way of being like, all right guys, if you want to see it, there you go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's such a cool thing to see the then and now, just to see how much has changed over the years, and then to kind of do like that little puzzle piece snippet, putting it together. I think it's such a cool idea. But one of my favorite things about your content is how it originated, just how you got started. You just took advantage of a time where everything slowed down in the world and just like embraced your passion and just went for it. And especially like myself, I wasn't able to do those things, and to be able to see it through your content was kind of cool to see.
Well, I'm glad. So I like started in quarantine. I like to say that I started like a little bit after like the initial lockdown, but like during the lockdown I was just wanting to get out of the house and like wanting to travel. So I just ended up going to cemeteries and all the haunted locations around Buffalo, because we're so blessed with them, which is weird. But Western New York is really, really known for a lot of its haunts and a lot of the legends. So instead of just sitting around the house and like looking at the same 4 walls, I was like, let's just go out and explore. And then that summer is when I got the idea for it. And then just everything kind of fell. I gave myself a deadline for like October 1st. If I didn't post then, I wasn't going to post at all. And somehow I like managed to make that first post, and then the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, we're all like
Amazing.
watching the rest of it happen. And
Mhm.
it's been like a long time coming because you were like around 7 or 8 years old when you saw a face in your second story bedroom window of this paranormally active house. And with all like the death that surrounded you in your like elementary school grade years, it's really kind of like no wonder that these recurring instances of grief and loss, coupled with that very moment, really kind of led you to where you are today. So I'm wondering, do you think that you'd still be where you're at today without them happening as early as they did for you?
Um, I don't know. I want to say that like the paranormal would eventually find me somewhere in life. If it wasn't for the experiences, probably the TV shows would have got my attention and still would have caught me, just like they did when I was little. And then I feel like I would have just kind of grown up with the lore. A lot of times around Halloween, a lot of Buffalo's like news stations dive into like the unknown stories, or like they just tell a few like haunted legends like of Gudelberg or like whatever, or like the train station. So I feel like it would have found me eventually if like those initial experiences never happened. It was just a matter of like when.
Just kind of like the culture of
Yeah.
where you live too. Cause like for me, I'm like maybe 20 minutes from Crescent Prison and Sanatorium and like the old Cambria County Jail and like all of these places that have been featured on Travel Channel by like a lot of different things. And I tell people all the time, like, it's just a hotbed of like paranormal activity in this very central radius of so many different states. Like I can be in New York in 3 hours. I can be in West Virginia in 2.5. I can be here and there and whenever. So it's really cool. There's just like kind of a paranormal playground, like right at our
Yeah.
fingertips.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Buffalo. I never realized how great Buffalo is, like how central it is to everything until I really started traveling, because like I hear all these stories about like how my friends on the other side of the state, it takes them like 7 hours to get to Pennsylvania. And I'm just like, oh, that's like an hour and a half for me. Like, there's all this other like cool stuff down there, but like, I don't know. I want to say like I agree with you. Like the regions do also play a part in it, because like Buffalo has a lot of history. We were on the Great Lakes. We were a huge hub in transportation with the Central Terminal, and then with the grain silos too. So I feel like if the paranormal didn't catch up to me, the history of it would, and then I would have dove into that, and then I kind of would have just found me that way.
So many different avenues, but sounds
Yeah.
like you do think you'd probably have arrived at the same destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so jealous that you guys can do that because I'm all the way on the opposite end of the map. I'm so far away. But when we were younger, most of us had parents with rules, unfortunately. And about what we could watch on TV, whether it be movies or TV, eventually we all rebel and watch them anyways. We like to sneak off and hide and watch our favorite shows. We know that you love the Blair Witch Project. Of course, it's iconic. So, what was the one that was forbidden for you to watch, whether it be movie or TV?
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
That movie terrified my father when he was like 13, so he refused to let us watch it. And my grandpa would always let us like watch whatever we wanted. He never cared. He never like watched over us. He was just like, "Yeah, go to Blockbuster, hang out." So we found like the
Amazing.
most ridiculous movies. And I remember finding a copy of The Exorcist, and I got it. And I remember taking it to my aunt's house, and I was like, "We're gonna watch this tonight. Like, we're gonna do it." And then she found it in my bag and was like, "You guys are not watching this. Like, what are you thinking? You're like 10. It's gonna scar you for life."
Did it scar you for life?
No, not really.
Oh no, it was a letdown.
Right?
It was a little freaky, I will say that. But the one that kind of like really got us was Jeepers Creepers for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
All
yeah.
5
Mhm.
cousins in like my age range, we all started watching the movie, and only like 3 people lasted. so
When
we
I was
were
like
just kind
real young, The Leprechaun freaks me the hell out.
I've
All of the
actually
movies.
never seen The Leprechaun, and what's wrong with me, I know. But
no, I mean, so like I can watch it now and
Mhm.
like have a chuckle to it because I just relate something completely different to it. But growing up, that and Chucky also kind of like
oh,
freaked me out.
Chucky.
I hated dolls. I
Mhm.
hate I'm not a fan of like anyone in a mask, I guess you can say. When I was younger, like the teenager that used to like hang out, or like who lived like across the street from me, he knew that we all like, he just liked to terrorize like the little kids around the area, and he like ran out in a Chucky mask the one time, and
Oh
I
no.
have never ran faster. So like I'm not a fan of like haunted houses or anything like that. Just give me like the good old ghost and we'll call it a day.
Chucky is iconic, but I remember watching the Goosebumps series, and those episodes had some scary episodes. And of course, we know that you're terrified of masks, like you just said, and haunted houses. And, you know, Goosebumps kind of has a few of those episodes, especially the haunted mask episode. Did that have any influence on the fear of masks? Is that where it originated from?
I mean, maybe it could have. My sister was really into Goosebumps, so like whenever we came home from school, we would always just toss it on if it was on. And then even around Halloween, we would always read the books. So I feel like that could have definitely had a play in it. But I'm not sure where the whole fear from it originated. So I'm not sure.
And is that just like because of the haunted houses, right? Being scared of it? Is it just because
Yeah.
like there are a lot of people with like painted faces or masks, or did you just have a really terrible haunted house experience and you like swore the rest of them off? I was like, I'm never doing this ever again.
No, I don't know. So I feel like it's a mixture of both, but also I hate having like just like that anticipation of being scared. The just like the being on the edge of your seat, that like kind of freaks me out. I remember growing up, there was like an old Presbyterian church down the street, and they had like a miniature haunted house where like you brought like a canned good and you got in for free. And so we walked through the one maze, and it was a bunch of tables, and there were people underneath the tables, and they were grabbing at your feet.
Oh,
So
no.
that definitely did it for me. And then I just like progressively tried like going through high school and everything, but they just weren't my cup of tea. Not a
Yeah,
fan.
like one too many like grabs, and you're like, no, I'm done with
Yeah.
this.
And
Yeah,
then
no
plus like
thanks.
and plus like we're super close to Canada. Like I'm 20 minutes away from the border. And there's one at Clifton Hill where you have to sign a waiver and they can pull you from your group. They can touch you. It is just I'm good. I'm good. Fine. Saw
Yeah,
everything I needed to
no
see.
freaking thank you.
Right? And like
No.
anytime would like someone would bring it up around Halloween and be like, "Hey, you want to go to the haunted houses?" I'd be like, "Hey, do you want to go to like a real haunted place? It's just like 45 minutes away. It's like
Yeah.
10 times better."
Right, you're like, and like I'm not gonna charge you admission, and there will be no
Yeah.
scary masks.
Like, how about we go to this one? There's a good chance we're just sitting in the dark.
Right.
But like there's no one there.
Yeah.
Well, growing up in Buffalo, you spent most of your education in a Catholic type school, but I heard too that you're not really religious anymore. So tell us how your beliefs have kind of evolved from what you may have been learning in your younger days.
So, yeah, my grandma was super religious and she wanted all of like her grandkids in Catholic school. I'm just not a fan of it. It was just like one of the things that were like kind of like pushed on us when we were kids. And then when we got into high school, we kind of just like my mom gave us the choice to like kind of like go through with like going to like religion and like making our confirmation if we wanted to. My sister got forced into it. I didn't. It was great.
The luck of the draw.
Yeah, right. But I feel like not only do I take some of like the religious stuff, but I also like I have that background and I'm familiar with it. But I've kind of evolved where I don't want to say like I'm a spiritualist. I'm kind of like in between. I don't want to say I'm an atheist. Like I believe more in the universe and the timing of things than there just being like this higher being up there and like with all these like set of rules and stuff. And to be honest, like I vaguely remember anything from Catholic school. Like I can't remember like the scripture or anything like that, but like I know like the rough outline of it all still, so but I like to like think of myself as like the in between of like being a spiritualist where I believe in like an afterlife and I believe that there's something more to us than there is like when death just like happens. Like there's something more there. But I also just believe that, you know, the universe is out there and, you know, things happen for a reason and, you know, we're on our like, these weird little paths and it's just a matter of which one you take type of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
absolutely. I think that we can all kind of relate to the fact of like wanting to belong to something or wanting
Mhm.
to believe in something to make sense of like how the world goes round. And we've all had paranormal experiences, we've all
Mhm.
investigated places, and it's like it's hard to put that to bed when other people may have
Mhm.
wanted to, when you have these experiences and you know that there's something else kind of out there. So
Exactly.
did your parents, like, I know your grandma then was like religious and influenced that Catholic school upbringing, but did your parents have like also a different view? Like, did they support you in the paranormal excursions that you have now?
So I feel like my mom kind of like lives through me.
Mhm.
So because like she was into like the tarot cards when she was in high school. I actually inherited her deck. She's kind of into like the spiritualism. She doesn't really say it or anything, but like she likes the other side of all of this. She likes the paranormal. She'll watch the paranormal shows with me. Like she was the one who took me on my very first ghost hunt. She's been on like several ghost hunts. My dad, on the other hand, wants absolutely nothing to do with this.
Oh.
He
Mhm.
constantly tells me that I should never bring anything home. If I do, then they're my problem, and how I should never play with the Ouija board. Little did he know that he grew up with one of the house, like I had one of the house and I just
Oh
hid
my
it.
goodness.
Like
People were like hiding alcohol, like booze bottles in their
Yeah.
closet,
yeah,
and you were
yeah.
hiding a Ouija
Here
board.
I am, just like hiding Ouija boards and like hiding the fact that like me and my best friend were like across the street playing with one. He just
I love it.
he just like wants no part of it, but he will be the first one to be like super freaked out if anything were to happen.
Mhm.
He's had dreams where they felt so real where he instantly woke up and like had to make sure like someone was okay. Like he had to text them and make sure someone was okay. At one point he
Hmm.
said it felt like someone hugged him in bed and he thought it was my mom and it she wasn't even around.
Oh
And
my
like at
gosh.
one point he was sleeping in the bed and I saw like someone like the size of him walk out of the bedroom. Like it was kind of like this like weird clear grayish like apparition, but I remember the head and I like remember how tall it was. So I remember the head, the shoulders, and the arm, and it took like four like I don't know like walk like steps I guess you can say. And my mom came out of like the one room and she's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, is Dad still sleeping?" And she was like, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, cool," because like someone just walked by. She was like, "What do you mean?" I was just like, "I don't know. Like, just someone walked out of your bedroom and into the bathroom."
You're like, I'm just gonna sticky
Wow.
note this in the back of my
Yeah,
brain
like
to remember for
Yeah.
later.
yeah.
Like,
She was like, She's like, "It looks like you've seen a ghost." I go, "Cause I did."
Oh my
right,
gosh.
this is the face I make when I see a
Yeah, I was
ghost.
like,
Yeah.
something's there. I don't know what to
Oh
tell you,
my,
but something's there.
Yeah, wow.
that's crazy. Did you tell your dad that you saw that while he was
No,
asleep? No.
no, not at all.
Just don't say anything.
What he
Right,
doesn't
he's
know
like,
won't
I'm
hurt him. It's
moving
fine.
bedrooms. Let's
It's
Yeah.
go,
fine.
moving bedrooms. Get out of
Yeah,
here.
it's
Yeah.
fine. What he doesn't know
Oh
won't hurt
my
him.
gosh.
He was
Right.
sleeping. It was just a
Exactly.
dream.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And thank you for sharing those beliefs. We all have different things that we believe in, and we can all relate to them as well. And then during your senior year of high school, then in 2020, when COVID hit the world, you took that opportunity to start the journey of the Ghoul Guides. So, what is one way that you approach a road trip or a location today that you didn't when you first started? And do you have any rituals or traditions that you do before you start an investigation or at the end of the investigation?
So I kind of look at like every road trip, and like every investigation kind of like as a clean slate.
Mhm.
Especially if there's like a time where I already went there. Like if I go to like Madison Seminary, I've been there multiple times at this point. Um, every investigation is a new investigation. Yeah, something wild could have happened last time, and you want to see if like something happens from that, or you want to mention it. Go for it. But like you have to keep in mind that every time you visit a location or every investigation is going to be so different from the last. So I try to go in with like a clear, even head, no expectations at all because it is the paranormal and I think the beauty of it is that you never know what's going to happen with it. So if you go in with no expectations, you won't be disappointed on how your night goes. And plus, I just go in with a very fun attitude. I know that some people think that paranormal investigating and ghost hunting should be very serious, and I completely understand because you're dealing with death and you're dealing with people, you're dealing with tragic events. But in my way of investigating, I like to have fun with it, and I like to bring that extra energy to it because you never know who is going to feed off of it, and you never know what is going to happen or what you might bring from it. So that's kind of just like what I like to go into, like on the road trips and stuff. But when it comes to like rituals or anything, I have a few mantras that I like to say when I drive. Just kind of like opening myself up to communicate to anything with or anyone or anything that's there. I like to talk to myself a lot in the car because I go on long car rides. It's just me, so I constantly talk openly to myself, to the universe, anyone who cares to listen, if there's someone following me. But so it's usually just talking and like kind of, setting the vibes for the night. And then I also love to blare the story so far as I'm driving to every location. I've been doing it ever since I did my first investigation at Waverly Hills in 2021. And it's just kind of how I kept going with every single location. So the ones that I drive to, you can expect to see me pull up just blaring the story so far and singing my heart out.
Well, now that there's a new album,
I
now you gotta
love
take a
it.
new road trip for the new
Listen.
album.
That album has been on repeat ever since it dropped, like a week ago. I
gosh.
I already know all of it.
It's like the only reason why I even
so
know
bad.
that they did was because you were like blasting it like on
I
every
love
social
it.
media outlet, and I was like, she is so excited for this new album.
I almost cried when I heard it. I was like, this was 6 years in the making. And
Oh
the
my
funny thing is, they were never really my favorite band. I saw them probably 6 times before it registered that they are who they were. And I was like front row at their concerts. Like, there's this one venue in Buffalo that we always went to called Mohawk Place. It's a tiny little dive bar. There's no barricade. The stage goes up to your thighs. I remember coming
Nice.
home with the bruises on my thighs from being pushed up
wow.
against the stage. And I had no idea it was for the story so far. I was there for a completely different band. And then, like, the next show after, I was like, oh, holy cow. Like, and then it just started my love for the story so far. And it's been, I don't know, it's been like at least like 10 years now. And I'm just like this diehard fan still chugging on from their album from 2012.
Heck
That's
yeah.
amazing.
I feel like that's the only thing I listen to anyway is like some like 90s or like 2000s music for the most part. Like when I was road tripping out to Penhurst in May, I was just like, it was just like a 4-hour concert, like just by myself. I'm like rolled down my window and like inviting other people at stoplights to like join me. They didn't, but whatever.
That's how I keep myself like awake half the time. Like it's
Mhm.
either like listening to like a handful of podcasts that I rotate between, or it's me with my like songs on Spotify just going to town and like I just feel sorry for anyone driving past me on the 90 because it is a show. It is a show.
I love it. Well, like sometimes music just like pumps you up and gets you in the mood. And then once you get to that location, you're just, let's go. And you just walk in like you're giving it. I love it.
Well, yeah, and it's like now that we know like about the positive attitude that you try to bring to these locations, and now we know how you get
Yeah.
that positive, vibe going too.
Yeah.
Like you go in there and you're like, okay, this is like the most boring thing, right? Like it's not all magical. It doesn't happen all the time. Like I might just be sitting here and like throwing some cards around, playing some games, and then things start to pick up. So I'm assuming though, like so many of us people, right, have different theories about the paranormal, how that happens, but we want to know more about the theory that maybe we're the ghosts.
I love
like
talking
it.
about this.
Yeah.
This is like one of my favorite theories to throw out because like it can go in so many different directions, and if the night is really slow, it just helps pass the time by. So for the last couple of years, we've started like really diving into like this whole theory that what if we're the ghosts? And in my head, there's 2 different variations of this. what if we are the, I mean, I guess it all kind of rolls into one. But like what if we are the paranormal activity that we are out there trying to find? And basically, what if it all just comes down to like these weird time slips? Something happens in the air where things just magically line up for a brief second, or however long this experience is, and basically we create the hauntings that we're searching for. Like an example is, what if I was walking up the stairs to Waverly Hills and I was going up to the fourth floor, but when I opened that door, I was transported for a quick time back into like the 1930s when TB was at its hub, coughing was happening everywhere, and a nurse at the nurse's station saw me. And she went back to tell all her friends, like, hey, you'll never believe who I saw. I saw this girl with red hair wearing a book bag. She was completely out of place. And then that story gets told over and over and over again. And come to find out, that story gets told in the present time. And now, like, we're the shadow figures, or we're the lady in white that people see, or, you know, when people talk about mimics or doppelgangers, like, what if that's just us from a different time length or time zone or whatever, where, you know, we were there already. And, you know, Nick Roth also talks about this. So in the Ghost Adventures documentary that they did when they went to the Washoe Club, he captured someone saying Nick Roth on the DR60. Come to find out, he went back like 10 years later and he walked into that room and he mumbled to himself, Nick Roth. So what if that moment from the documentary was just him 10 years in the future whispering his name?
Yeah, like an echo.
Or
in
like
time.
something vice versa. Like there's just so many ways it could spiral into. And I don't know, the more we dive into it and the more we kind of investigate, just like especially places we've already been, it's starting to seem like this theory could have like some traction. Like at the West Virginia State Penitentiary a couple weeks ago, we captured a mimic voice of my friend Tim. And what was really fun about it was that there was about like 7 of us in the maximum security area. We were all hanging out. There were like little tables. And my friend Josie, she told one of our other friends to bang on the table. So she called out, she went, hello. And all you hear is a bang, bang, bang on these metal tables. And almost instantly, you can hear off in the distance to the admin that was attached to maximum security. You can hear someone go, what the fuck? And it was like the same inflection. It was the same voice we all knew. And like 5 of us started giggling because we're like, oh, that was Tim. And my friend Josie had this on camera and we were all just kind of like sitting there like waiting for them to come because we knew him and Dylan were like walking around on TikTok live and they were like upstairs in the infirmary, which wasn't that far. And then my friend, our other friend Steve, walked into admin without us realizing, because when we realized that no one was coming, we were all starting like to panic. And we're just like, wait, well, where were they? And we were trying to get on TikTok, and come to find out that they were actually on the other side of the prison in Newwall on TikTok live, and we were blowing up the TikTok chat going like, we just caught, like, where are you guys? Like, we need, like, you need to come find us. And every time we were in the TikTok chat saying, like, we just caught a mimic of Tim, or we just heard Tim's voice, the message wouldn't go through. Or it would go through and, like, it wouldn't show on the chat, which was really weird. So we had someone else jump into Dylan's live. The same thing happened there. So I was just like, screw it. I'm texting the group chat. And I was blowing up the group chat. Like, we caught Tim. There's no way this is possible. And when we went to go walk to find them, we met up with our other friend Steve, and he was in the middle of the prison. He was like, we didn't even hear you bang on the tables. We didn't hear you yell. We didn't hear Tim yell. But like, all in this video that we have, you have 5 people going, well, that's Tim. So could that be Tim from last year when he went for the first time? When one of us were playing around and he said the what the like phrase? Like, it could be anything.
Yeah, that's so
Wow.
interesting. Well, and you bring
Mhm.
up like a good point too. Like you have other people that you investigate with. So I kind of want to know one who you investigate with. I know a
Mhm.
couple of them. One of the people that investigate you with you is actually on the podcast next week.
Oh, fun.
So yes.
Rub it in his face that
Um
I did it first.
I sure will. So it's like you guys have all been to these locations numerous times. You go together and, separately. So it's like, yeah, what if you guys are just like all fueling this
Yeah.
activity the more and more that
Right?
you go to these repeated locations, especially if this theory would be true, or you're the ones that are like putting it all out there.
Right?
Mhm.
And then plus like half the time we all joke around and mess around. So
Mm.
like I know at Waverly Hills we left part of ourselves there because not last year, the year before in 2022, we had Waverly Hills for 3 days straight and the first 2 days were us just running around acting like children, really. Like the first night, it was like right after Easter. The first night we were there, we had a glow in the dark Easter egg hunt, and then the second night we ended up all just scaring each other.
Oh
And we
my god.
scared each other so bad, like we like I know there are parts of our soul that are just left there from that night. So it's like, okay, so what if we left our energy there as an imprint too? Not just like what if we're the ghost type of thing? What if it's our energy that gets left behind after
Mhm.
these investigations? And not just
Yeah.
us going there over and over and over again and creating like a stone tape theory type of thing.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's almost like each time one of you goes through a doorway, doorways are like considered a portal kind of thing. So what if you guys are just kind of repeating this portal tornado thing inside of each location and you're just investigating each other but in a different timeline kind of thing.
Right? See, like it can
So
branch off
interesting.
into almost anything. That's what's so fun
Mhm.
about the series. And then you talk about it with other people and they have their own perspective on it and then you're just sitting here like, yeah, I can see it.
I mean, I
Yeah.
would feel like Barry Allen creating like multiple timelines over and
Yeah.
over and over
The
again. And like,
C-force.
right, like, can we, like, is there a ghost force that, like, contains all of this energy that allows, like,
Right?
timelines to be created? And, like, what if it doesn't? Because all
Mhm.
these locations do get investigated over and over and over again, sometimes even every day.
Mhm.
So, just the magnitude of how much that would grow, like, the ghost verse would
Yeah.
be insane. So
Yeah.
I do have to ask because I heard that you had a really super interesting weekend at Indiana State Sanatorium where you only got like 3 hours of sleep. So I'm like, what in the world happened?
Mhm.
So this was like the very first time I was there. So it was a 9 hour drive from Buffalo. I I think I left right from work. So I didn't get to Indiana until probably about like midnight. My friends Steve and Dylan from Haunted Nights, they were ahead of me. So I met them there. And this was all of our first times at Indiana State. So we get there. It's midnight. We get warned about the 10-foot tree snakes and the bobcats, and I'm starting to realize why I'm there. And our lovely friend Addie, who works with Indiana State, Madison, Fairfield, she met us there, and she was like, "Do you guys want the tour?" We're like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So by the time we got done with the tour and we were walking around inside, it was probably about like 3 in the morning, and then we stayed up talking with Addie outside of the commercial building, which is now it used to be the children's old TB ward, but it got torn down and they built like a commercial building on top of it where you can actually like rent rooms out to stay there when you're investigating. So we did that and we stayed out there talking with Addie for about another hour. And this was like the first time I was like really sleeping over with the guys. So I let them have their own room since they drove like 13 hours to get there. And I took my own room, and little did I know that I took like the haunted room of the commercial
Oh,
building.
jeez.
So when we walked in, Dylan heard a little kid cough, and he mentioned something about it to Addie, and Addie told him, she was like, "Oh yeah, it's just the kids." So we're like, "Oh." Like it just
Okay.
is like someone's
No
kid
big
supposed to be
deal.
here,
Yeah,
and she's just like, "Oh no!" Like she's like, "This place is haunted too." I was like, "Great!" Like
of
I'm
course.
exhausted at this point.
Thanks for letting us know.
Right? Like I have no way to like I have to sleep here. There's no way I can go home. It's either this or sleep in my hot car. So I eventually started going to bed, and I got my own room, and I was laying there, and it was probably like 5 o'clock in the morning at this point, and every time I tried to go to bed and try to like close my eyes, it felt like someone had the sleeping bag and were slowly tugging it off of me. So I thought I was just that close, and I was that close to the edge, so it was just falling off. And every time I would turn my flashlight and my phone on, I'd still be in the middle. Like, everything would still be in the middle. So I was slowly starting to lose my mind, and I was putting like Spotify on to help me go to bed. And then at this point, there was a knock on the door, or a knock on the wall, and I was like, fun. I like looked at the door. The door was cracked open because there was a light on in the hallway, and I was like, if the crack's just there, it's fine. Like, it's my little nightlight. And then there was just more like little noises in the room that I was sleeping in, and then like the whole blanket thing started happening again. So it was just like, I don't know what was happening. In my head, the little kids were like messing with me. But I just remember laying in bed. I could see like the sun starting to like shine, and I'm just like, you just have to lay here until like 6 o'clock. The sun will be out. You'll go to bed. And then so I ended up sleeping probably from like 6 to 9, maybe like 8:30, and our friends came, and we all ran to like the one motel down the street because Indiana State didn't have showers and Billy Creek wasn't open yet. So like we had to rent like an like some motel so we could take showers, and it was the hottest weekend ever. But yeah, I pretty much survived my first trip to ISS living on like probably like 5 hours of sleep that entire time.
Oh my god.
Because Steve, who does Haunted Nights events, who I do like the Haunted Nights events with, that was the first year of us going out there, and he made like the hours longer because he was like charging more for the tickets or something. And he had the events go till 6 in the morning when normally they go till 4. So we're all standing awake, and at like, I don't know, when we were like before the event happened, he was like, no one's gonna stay till 6. I'll be fine. Like, we'll go to bed at 4. Some people will probably leave at 3. No one will stay till 6. Both nights, people stayed till 6.
Both nights.
Both nights.
You're like, this was false advertisement to me, Steve.
I was just like, all right, like. So we got the 10-foot tree snakes. We got the haunted staying place. Like, this is cool. This is great.
Well, yeah, it's like, no wonder you didn't sleep all weekend.
Right? And then I had to drive 9 hours home. All the way back. So, and it was funny because every time I drive through Ohio and I, like, go by, like, Madison and stuff, Panic at the Disco always seems to find its way on. And I always remind myself, like, oh, I remember listening to this coming home from Indiana for the first time. Chasing a thunderstorm. Living the dream.
It's just like imprinted in your memory forever. Like whatever was on and what you were passing.
That whole weekend, I never saw myself ever going to Indiana, and then the fact that I like stayed on sanatorium grounds for a weekend, just living my best life. Like at this, like our friend Mark and Deanna, they used to have a truck, and for the second night of the event, while Steve and them were on the tour, me and Deanna and her husband Mark, he was driving us around in the bed of his truck while we were just getting B-roll all the around the entire campus. We did at least like 5 laps, just being obnoxious. It was great. It was great. It was
awesome.
like paranormal summer camp. Every time we're in Indiana, it turns out to be like paranormal summer camp.
Oh, I love it.
I'm like, where do I sign up for this? I'm coming.
Yeah, right?
I mean, Haunted Nights events, let's go. I'm usually with them.
Totally.
They're a fun time. Everyone becomes friends, really. Like, so you can go alone. I'm usually at all of them, but like, we have all the equipment. You can hang out with us. You can go off on your own. We only really sell about a handful of tickets, and so it's not big, but it's still a public event. And
I think there's one at Madison in like at some point in July, some weekend in July, and I've been like looking at going. I'm like,
do it.
I don't know.
They're
we shall
fun.
see.
Madison is a very fun place, and I actually have to lock myself in there completely by myself because that's what the Ghoul friends wanted when I hit 100K. So I have to book it. And
Oh,
I'm
geez.
so sad I didn't see that, or I would have absolutely
Yeah.
typed like yes, vote.
I'm sure it's like still in there. I didn't say officially who was the winner, but we all know it's Madison.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that my friend Josie rigged it and like told everyone to vote for Madison because before I made it a thing, I wrote in the one group chat and I was like, "Hey, I'm about to hit 100K on Instagram. Like, maybe I'll lock myself in a haunted location for the day. Maybe I'll be Madison." And then everyone was like, "All right, well, you said it now." And I'm just like, "Oh no!" And
You
like the
said it
last
out
time we were at
loud.
Madison, the last time we were there, we come back after eating dinner, and our tour guide Shelly, she's a wonderful person. If you ever go to Madison, have her as your tour guide. She is the best. She comes out and she's like, "Oh, you guys weren't inside?" And we're like, "No, we just came back from dinner." Why? She goes, "Oh, I just heard what sounded like Dylan talking to someone because we left my car there." And she's like, "Oh, I thought Dylan was just hanging out back." And I was just like, "Cool." And then that entire night, I was just walking around the whole seminary just going, "I'm not going to make it." Like, I'm not going to make a whole night in here.
Aw.
Jeez.
So you thought previously that maybe in a past life that you were in an asylum or a sanatorium, and that's why you're so drawn to them,
Yeah.
particularly Waverly Hills. Have you ever had an experience with a psychic medium that could give you some confirmation on this, or is it just intuition?
So it's just intuition at this point. There's just something about like the whole asylum life and the sanatorium life. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand because the people who were in like the patients of the TB hospitals, they were also locked away and they were just forced to like kind of like give up everything even if you were a doctor or a nurse. So I actually had one person reach out to me a couple years ago saying that they could have done a past life regression on me, but I hardly knew them, so I didn't want to like get really really deep with it because I didn't know how this was gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mentioned something to him too, and he was like, "Well, you know, I can do it," and I'm just like, "I'll rain check you on that." But I don't know. It's really just intuition with the way I've been drawn to them, especially with Waverly Hills. Ever since I was little, I've always knew something about this building, and something always found its way back to me from the building. Like it would just come up in conversation. It was my number one bucket list place. It always just seemed to like be the spot for me. And then when I was there, the first time it was I went to like a tour beforehand so I could kind of get like shake like the sillies out or whatever you want to call it and get like the nerves out. And it kind of just felt like home for a second. Like it while it is scary after dark and especially when you're alone and it like the paranormal activity that's said to be there that can freak you out. It just felt really peaceful more than anything. And then especially like the Saratoga County Homestead, like that's another TB hospital that's kind of like found its way in my path. But when it comes to like asylums and stuff, it's just one of those feelings that I would have either been here as a patient type of thing, or more than not, I probably would have been like a nurse or something. I'm kind of in like a healthcare education field. For the last like 10 years, I've been a teacher aide for kids with special needs, and now I moved into like the admin section. So being in like the special needs field, that's always kind of been something in my life as a constant, just not in the paranormal world, but just like on the outside of it too. So I feel like I have that like huge connection. So it could just be something with that too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and I have two things actually, because one, I had recently found out that like the Ghoul Guide's like not your full-time job. I'm like, this bitch puts out content every day. Like, how is this not something like she
How
works
is it
40
possible?
hours a week and then does this on the weekends? Like, how does she even have
Yeah.
time to like do anything else?
Mm-hmm.
I'm childless.
That helps.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of just overcome my life. I know that sounds really weird to say, but it has just been like this hobby that's kind of just overtaken everything, and I'm just riding with it. it's been a passion. The whole like exploring and the paranormal have been a passion ever since I can remember. And then when I was in high school, I really discovered writing. So just allowing myself to kind of like not push away a creative endeavor and just kind of like fall into it more. That's just what I've been doing, and it's kind of if anything, it's been like helping heal some childhood wounds and just helping heal just like some inner work anyways. So it's kind of therapy too, I guess you can say. As weird as it sounds, but
Not
yeah.
weird. I feel like
Yeah.
Becca and I would totally agree with it because like Spooky Happy Hour started off as like a passion project. We met in the Fear Club because we just love Project Fear. We know you like them too and like have watched them, so it's like
I was
we
almost in an
bonded.
episode.
Oh man, I'm waiting for a collab. I'm just like waiting for them to like hit you up and be like, "Yo, Courtney, jump on the next episode with us."
They're gonna be at MadCon, and I'm vending, so I hope so.
I'll be there,
like,
so I'll see y'all there. Even if I don't
Make it happen.
in July, I will be there in September.
I'll have pieces from the homestead with me and everything.
Well, I'm super excited to meet you in person. We met them at like Penhurst, but we were kind of talking too. It's just like we've been getting some tarot card readings done and like some other things that are like confirming that like we're in the space that we should be in, and it's just really nice to like have some of that reassurance and confirmation when you are exploring this creative hobby that like you really just get like the feeling back from. Like if you're not getting paid, you're not like getting like totally recognized or whatever, but like my weekends are full of us filming and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Oh yeah, so many people don't understand the schedule and the life that I lead now. My sister was actually just in town, and I was talking to her about this for a little bit too, because for the last like 3.5 years, the first year just kind of took me by surprise. Like when I did that first road trip down to, I call it my road trip to Kentucky. I hit up Madison, I hit up Mansfield, and then I did Mammoth Caves, Kentucky, or Waverly Hills. On the way home, I did Bobby Mackey's and then Fairfield, all within like the span of 5 days. And it was just either like tours or investigating. But ever since that first road trip where I had the taste of driving sleep deprived and, going from one place to the next, it's just like, all right, this is in my blood and I want, like, this is hitting everything. And I even said that it's kind of funny, when I grew up, I was really into the music scene. I loved Warped Tour. I was that street teamer for Warped Tour. I never paid because I always worked it. I was working merch booths and, just doing street team stuff. And I always wanted the life of going on tour and going and like waking up in a new place every day and, like being a merch girly or doing this and being a tour manager. And now I somehow have done it for myself. I feel like I girl bossed a little bit too close to the sun on that one, but but like it's not what I pictured for myself, but I feel like it's everything that I wanted and needed. I just didn't know how or when. And yeah, I don't know. It's just been like this weird, beautiful journey that I never expected. And going back to like your tarot readings, a month, probably not even a month into like me doing the Ghoul Guide, we had a psychic party in 2020 at my cousin's house, and we all just sat around a fire while one of us went inside one by one, and we each had our 30 minutes with the psychic that we had rented for the day or whatever. And I know that sounds so weird.
It's like rent a psychic for the day.
Yeah, rent a psychic for a day. We call it a psychic party. That's just our little phrase for it. But
love it.
I walked in and I sat down, and she was like, "You're not here to connect with anyone." I was like, "No, I'm just kind of here to like for you to like show me what you got," type of thing, and like we'll see if anything lands. And she kept saying something. She was like, you're gonna have like the most fun in like 5 years. She's like, the next 5 years are gonna be the most fun. She's like, you're gonna be adventuring everywhere. And then she asked about Lake George, and I was just like, oh, you're just picking up on a conversation that I had like 3 days ago when like Lake George made its way into a conversation. So I didn't really think anything of it until I was driving home at like 2 a.m. from the homestead to go to my hotel after one of our nights up there. And the exit that I had to get onto to get on the highway that I call the Adirondack Highway, there was a sign that said Lake George, and something just hit me in that moment. And I just remember looking at the sign going, no shit. Like, she was really right. I was going to spend a lot of time in Lake George, and even now just passing by that exit, and like when I go to the homestead, or like when I'm over on that side of the state, anytime I see like the Lake George sign, I was like, she was right. Like,
what's those things that like hit you that you don't necessarily think of in the moment when you're being told it, but then later you connect it with like something different. And we know that you have like a super great affinity for Waverly Hills, and it's kind of funny, my next question, because you've already mentioned these two places, but I wonder if your current favorites of the Saratoga County Homestead or Madison Seminary have kind of taken Waverly's place as number one in your heart.
oh shit.
The toughie.
Oh, it is a toughie. I'm gonna say a little bit, yeah. A little bit. I feel like Waverly will always be that number one spot, no matter what, just because of my my lifelong love for it. But I will say that the Saratoga County Homestead in Madison definitely have creeped up on me over the years. As soon as I saw the homestead, I fell in love with it instantly. Don't know why. It's a huge decaying building that has no life to it, but it's kind of become this paranormal this paranormal playground for us, and it's starting to hold a lot of like sentimental value more than anything. And I know it's gonna fall. I know it's gonna fall eventually. It's been standing for 45 years. It's been set on fire 3 times. The elements are truly against it at this point. But I love the fact that we are kind of seeing its way out in a sense. Like, we're kind of taking care of it, and even though it wasn't loved as much as it could have been, and it could have been turned into something else, but New York State is just awful. I kind of love like seeing it into its later life. And if you follow me, you probably know, like you said, I've been talking about this place for years. I don't really talk much of it, just how much I actually love it. But I've also like started like making like vials and like just trying to grab pieces to make into like art of something, because I do truly want to remember it when the day comes. But yeah, the homestead's kind of wiggled up there, and then you have Madison Seminary, which is just a place that's absolutely terrified me. It's a place that I never ever really saw myself going to. It was just one of the ones where it's like, oh yeah, I know of this place, but like looking, like if you were to ask me when I started the Ghoul Guide if I were to go there as much as I have, I would have said no. Like, I don't know. It just seems like every time I go to Madison, it kind of warms up to me more and more, and I'm a little afraid. I'm a little afraid of what's going to happen when it actually is just like, all right, like, we know each other more. Like, we got this. Like, I remember the first time I was there, I was talking mad shit about the doctor that said to live up in the asylum, because he was an awful person. And given the field that I'm in, and, like, just being who I am, I will never understand how someone can, like, be like that to like, another person. So I was just, like, openly talking, and what we heard a man just go, hey, in the stairway, and it was just me and another girl in there, and we're just like, what? Like, so, like, it gave me that moment, and, like, almost every single time that I've been there, it's given me something to be like, what the hell was that about? Like, it's just been this place, I truly didn't think would, like, weasel its way into my heart, but there it is.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. That's wild. So we know that you love the spirit box, and we do too, and especially for the Estes method. But I know you mentioned before that you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to get this equipment. But have we kind of seen the Panasonic DR60 kind of in your hand?
It's not mine. It's not mine. I don't have DR money. I'm on a teacher budget. I'm on a teacher budget, and I need gas money, and I refuse to bid on things that are against
Well, it's like $1,400. Like I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like everybody who's like looking to upgrade their equipment or get stuff, like you go and check it out. It's like window shopping for paranormal equipment. But yeah, like I don't have that laying around to just grab whenever I
I'd be
want.
lying if I said I didn't have an eBay notification for it whenever a new one is listed, or that I've just like randomly looked in all these different cities on Facebook Marketplace for one. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But I am delusional enough to think that one is going to come across my path in like a Goodwill or or like just like an estate sale. Like someone doesn't know what they have, and they're just going to get rid of it, and it's going to become mine. And I'm going to find it for like $3.
Oh, could you imagine? Here's the Holy Grail just for $3.
So our friend Mark and Deanna, when I first started like really hanging out with them, they got me good, and they were like, "Yeah, Mark found this for like $2 at Goodwill." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I was I was like, what fucking Goodwill do you go to? Like,
Courtney's hitting up all the Goodwills on her trip
what
home.
are you talking about? And then no. So I really, whenever the boys have them, like Steve has 3, I think, or like 2. I normally play with them. Laz, if you watched the Kirker Building episode of Haunted Nights YouTube channel with me in it, you'll see that like 30 seconds into my solo, I dropped it on the floor. So I probably shouldn't have one. That whole I was trying to get my phone out of my pocket. And the way my leggings pocket were, I thought that like the DR was like against it, not on top of it. So I pulled my phone out, and then all of a sudden you just hear poof, and like the camera just goes down. I'm just like, oh no.
Steve's like, Courtney's not allowed to touch anything anymore.
And like the thing was, is I didn't tell him until until it aired, because I just handed him the camera back, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. Like like you're just like
Whoops.
like at one point, like I hate showing my face on camera. I hate being that like YouTuber. It's just not it's just not me. So when I had like at one point in the episode, I don't know what I was doing, but I think I whispered, "And this is why I'm not a fucking YouTuber." Like
Well, we love that about you though. Like we love your resistance to starting the YouTube channel, because you're just so focused on enjoying the experience, be in the present moment, and like you've said previously, like I'm gonna have to try to remember to film everything, to get a piece of equipment, and to do all this stuff. So it's like you use yourself and your intuition and your feelings as more of your own like inner equipment, if you will. So in the last 3.5 years of doing this, kind of like every single weekend, going on a road trip, how has your ability to trust yourself grown in the last 3.5 years?
oh, this is such a great question. I'm gonna say, before I didn't really listen to my intuition that much. It was there, but like when it came to the paranormal, I didn't really, like use it as one of my tools like I do now. Before I kind of just like wanted to, hang out, and if something scary happened, it happened. If it didn't, I didn't. But like now I'm kind of just like relying on when it comes to like Estes methods too, like what you think and what you feel, especially during those moments when you kind of like listen to the white noise and you get yourself in a trance and you have something in your head that you cannot get out over and over and over again. Just say it. Like that took me so long to get used to. Like I had things going on in my head where I'm just like, such as the Haunted Nights episode. At one point, it sounded like someone was just in my head saying, I'm not saying, I'm not telling, I'm not telling, I'm not saying, I'm not, like, it just kept going over and over. And it took me, and at one point I was just like, I can't get this out of my head. And the second I said it, it left. And it was just like, it was like my mind was its own spirit box for a second. I know this is going to sound weird to anyone who like has no idea what the hell we're talking about, but in those moments you have to trust yourself. And like and like when it comes, like when you walk into like a place or something like that and you just feel off and you don't feel like something's right, you have to trust it too, because there's so many unseen dangers outside of the paranormal, especially when you go off a bit, like exploring to abandoned buildings. Like, there could be an animal there could be like a wrong step on the floor, and if you don't listen to yourself, that tells you that you're in danger or something like that, and you could end up really hurting yourself. So I feel like I just kind of gotten wiser to listen to it and not brush it off as much as I used to. Like you said,
Which is
it's a
easy to
tool.
do.
Yeah,
It's
it's
easy
so
to just
easy
be
to
like,
do,
oh, this is not
especially
equipment. This is coming from me. So why does
Mhm.
it hold any weight? But it does.
exactly. And like there are some times like I really only had to pull myself out of a location once. It was right after we got an EVP at Madison, and it sounded like someone screamed, "I came from the mirror." And we already have like this weird thing with one of the mirrors in the Civil War side to the building. But it
Mhm.
was in that moment that me and my friend Deanna looked at each other. We're like, "No, I can't be here for this." Like, I've never felt that pit in my stomach on an investigation
Mhm.
any other moment. But in that moment, I had to get out, and I don't know what was waiting for me. I don't know what would have happened if I stayed, but I had to listen
I
to it.
think that like
Mhm.
Becca kind of had that moment when we were at Penhurst because she was just
Mhm.
getting drawn to all these like different spots. And then
Yeah.
like she went under, like I swear to God, every room we ever went to. She's like, give me the box. Give me the box. I'm going under.
I
Yeah,
understand. I love it.
it's for some reason I find it almost addicting in a way, but it's me with my little true crime brain. I just want to put the pieces together, and I feel like I'm solving a puzzle and they are giving me this puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
and like if I can't hear what like Bree is telling me or if someone's asking me a question and then the pieces come together once you come out of it, it's like, oh, like shit, like this is actually like something
Mm-hmm.
legit. And that's kind of like, I love that feeling. We've got to like
You have to
solve
tell
this.
her, you have to tell her about what we found out like later after Penhurst.
Oh, yes. So I don't know.
Crazy.
Some people are like a little bit skeptical of the Spirit app on their phones.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
get
like
it.
so sometimes what I find if you're at a location like Penhurst, you might have a bit of a better chance of using it. So I feel like I had like everything in my hands. I had like the digital recorder, or maybe you had that at one point, and we were asking it questions when I was kind of under, like I was
You just
kind of
weren't
like
closing your eyes. Like you had it
no, like I didn't
on.
fully go under because I
I've
needed
had
to
that.
see what was going on. But the Spirit app ended up saying gargoyle, and we filmed it, and it's on our episode for Paracon. But I didn't like acknowledge it. I was just like, oh, this is the app being silly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, whatever. And then couple weeks down the road, Bree texts me while I'm sitting at my little office job, and then she's like, dude, guess what I read? And I was just like, okay, like, what is this? And it's like dead silent at my office. And she's like, so the word gargoyle was something legit. Like, that's what they used to call patients who were deformed, or like other patients would call each other that.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like reading this article, and I just kind of like my jaw literally just dropped. And this is like 9 a.m. my time, and I'm like sitting at my desk, and it's like an open
It's
area.
too
It's not
early for
like a
this.
cubicle. I'm like, and I was like, what the fuck? And I like mouthed it, and people are looking at me, and they're like, they already think I'm weird enough because I'm like into the paranormal, and then I went to Benhurst. But I was like, that is just wild to me that like we're
Mm-hmm.
still like putting pieces together. And then down the road, like I could only imagine like you would have stuff like that too, like finding some
Yeah.
information out.
Yeah, so I want to say the most recent one. Well, there's two that's recent. One was actually it came from Crescent. One of the last times we were able to investigate Crescent, we had the entire campus to ourselves, and every time I went to Crescent, it always rained without a doubt. I don't know what would happen, why it would bring the rain. It always rained. And the last time we were there, it downpoured, and we were there for the photo tour, and then we were just there afterwards for the investigation. And that night, the fog started rolling in, and we were all hanging out. It was probably about like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. Our friends like Steve and Dylan just got there after they drove in, and we ended up going up to the chapel. And some of us were inside, some of us were outside lingering around. And our friend Mark ended up walking outside, and he looked down the hallway, and it sounded like, or he said it looked like someone was standing in the walkway wearing a bolo hat, a huge wool, like knee length coat, looks completely out of place. Never mind, it was like August at this point too, so no one should be in wool or a hat like that. So we kept saying he saw the Hat Man. And he was like, it freaked him out. It freaked him out to the point where he didn't even want to investigate the rest of the night. He just kept saying it was someone who was out of place. And that was a common phenomena for us anytime we investigated Crescent. We would always see people. Like later on that night, I thought I saw Deanna in one of her like white nightgowns because she has these old like vintage muumuus that she brings around. And that's
Love it.
That's how we scare everyone because she has like the long dark hair, so she looks like Samira from The Ring.
Stop! No, we're not
great.
talking about
It's
it.
great.
Okay, I'm gonna have to put a beach towel over my TV
Oh
tonight if we
my
talk about it. Dude, we can't. We can't.
So I thought I saw her, like, to the point where I'm just like, I'm not going out that door. Like, I'm not going out that door. And Mark was like, what are you afraid of? And he walked out there. He's like, no one's out here. And I was like, she was just there. Like, so we had those experiences. And basically, I want to say, like, maybe in the winter this year, my friend Rachel, who used to work up there, she actually used to work at the one college that had ties to Crescent, and she was looking through, like, archives that we found, and she found she found the picture of the guy in the same exact walkway, standing with the bolo hat, the wool coat, the same thing. I took a screenshot and I sent it to Mark, and Deanna texted me, like, within, like, 5 minutes later, and she was like, Mark is sitting here, afraid of, like he looks like a ghost right now.
Wow.
So,
well, it kind of confirms your theory too from people who had been there previously, and you're just getting this glimpse into it.
So, like, we had that happen, so, like, we were just like, okay, so it could be that theory, like, something happened with the fog, where fog is liminal, and things were just timed up right. And then I want to say the other recent one was when we brought the wheelchair back to Waverly. It just happened to be, like, the right place at the right time. We ended up going over to New Albany, Indiana. It's this cute little town right across the river, and there's a shop called The Odd Shop. It's like this cute antique curio shop, and Christian, the owner, she's so great. We go in there every year, shows she remembered us, and she asked if we were going up to Waverly, and we told her yeah, and she proceeded to tell us how she came into possession of this wheelchair from Waverly Hills. Little did she know that the wheelchair was actually stolen when the hospital closed down in the 70s or 80s after the Woodhaven era to it. So someone up there took the wheelchair, sold it to her dad. They didn't know it was stolen, but they wanted to give it back. So I looked at the guys and I was like, we're giving it back. And she was like, if they don't want it, one of you can have it. And I was just like, we need to give it back because someone's going to fight over this. So we ended up bringing it back, and, we brought it back. I was wheeling it down the halls. We were taking pictures with it. We did our videos. And from what I know, it's still there. And when we got home from that whole trip, probably about like maybe 3 weeks later, we found the obituary, and we realized that we returned that wheelchair only 3 days early. Yeah, we were there 3 days prior to the day that she died. It would have been her 52nd death anniversary.
Wow.
We had no idea.
Wild.
The bottom of the wheelchair had her name. It was Arabelle Robinson, and we found out that she passed away in March of in March 25th, I want to say, and we were there the 22nd. So we were just there. We returned it so close.
It's just wild because, you do those things, and then, you never expect that, the experiences that you have, that you're going to get something in the future from them, and then you do, and it just kind of, confirms, at least for me, that's how I know, what, I'm on the right path, I'm doing the right stuff.
Yeah, I was just happy to, give back to history, especially to Waverly Hills, a place that, we all, the group of us all loved. So, to me, I'm just like, we did something good. This is great. Blah, blah. We all wanted to keep it for ourselves. And, come to find out, it was a great thing that we didn't keep it to ourselves. So.
Right. I'm surprised Steve didn't put it in his trunk and take it back to his house with all of his oddities and collectible items.
He tried.
You're like, we have to do the right thing, guys.
I was in the back seat. I was like, listen, it's either going home with me or it's going to Waverly. No one's getting this besides me. I was like, I'll fight you for it. Don't think I won't.
Right, I'm sure. Well, and so I'm asking everybody this question on our season. After you die, if you had to be a ghost, like you couldn't do anything, but you had to be a ghost and haunt one place, which would it be and why?
Oh no. Oh shit. This
So
is
many options.
hard. There's so many options. I don't want to go to Waverly. Too many people are there already. What's a random one? The Crescent would be nice. The Crescent Hotel. Never went there, but I heard it's very lovely. They have a cat named Jasper. It's like the little manager there.
Oh.
I don't know. Right now, I would say it's kind of a tie between Madison. I think that would be a fun one. And possibly Winchester. Winchester just keeps coming to mind. Madison, because I want to see who the hell is around there.
Right?
I got some words.
Right, you're like, I'm gonna get some answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, guess what? Guess who's back?
Back for good.
Right? Like, I'll be like, all right, who's the little shit? And then Winchester, Winchester would just be cool to hang out with.
Yeah.
And just like see who's still poking around. If Sarah herself is still there, that would be very fun. But yeah, I don't know. I think those two.
Yeah, Winchester would be so fun. It's like a fun house on its own.
No.
Yeah.
I
It's
know
so
we were supposed to
cool.
go there this summer, but I don't think that's happening. So I don't know when we're gonna be out there, but that's definitely on my radar. So
Yeah, it's on our bucket list too to eventually head there.
that's one spot. Like if I go to, I'll probably sob. Just like the 10-year-old in me will just take over.
No.
Like, we're here. Like
We made
Well, and
it.
it's the story too. Like for me, it's just so like the story's so compelling that it's like you have to go. Like nobody in their right mind. Like she was so affected. Like there's nobody that could have made that just off of the top of their head. Like you know that there was this driving force behind making it that way.
And even if it wasn't paranormal and like the whole ghost story behind it turns out to be fake or what have you, the whole concept of just creating a house because a ghost told you to, or even just seeing the house in general, that's worth the whole trip to me.
100%. Yeah, just the design of the house, like stairs that lead to nowhere. I think there's a door
that leads to outside.
Yeah,
the switchback, I was just hearing the stories from like when the guys went when they did their big filming trip, and like the entire time just like, I want to get lost at Sarah's house.
Yeah.
Maybe not get robbed, but like we'll definitely get lost there.
Yeah, right.
Story I haven't heard 40 times.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
Like,
we're gonna
talk
hear
about
it soon, I'm sure.
Yikes.
We're excited now.
I know.
It's just a story that I've heard like 40 times, and like the entire what had happened. I was sitting there, like I remember Deanna called me. And she was like, the boys got robbed, and the first thing I thought was, where are the DR-60s?
Oh.
And she's like, I don't know. I was like, well, there goes 5. Like we just lost 5 of them. But I was heartbroken for them.
Yeah.
But I will say, I asked Mark, I think it was at like Friendsgiving or something, I go, will this ever become like a laughing matter for you? Like, will like enough time go by? Because there's this one photo that someone, I don't know who took it, someone took it of the damage, and you can just see Mark or whoever it was just going through it on the hood of the car. Like he was just like, oh.
I couldn't even imagine.
The stories that came out of that whole weekend, granted, what happened. Looking on the bright side, though, the stories were hysterical. As someone who wasn't there and just could like experience it secondhand, the stories were hysterical. So
sometimes those are the best stories, even though they really suck in the moment. Like you said, like eventually after time passes, like you will have a couple laughs here and there.
Yeah, like if it were to happen to me, like I'm sure I would be just as pissy and just
livid
heard about it. But like
livid.
There's nothing I can really do. Like I'm starting to like, get to the point where I'm just like, well, if I can't do anything about it, can't stress about it.
And then down the road, it's like, remember that time that this happened? Like, this one time at band camp? Kind of
exactly.
thing.
I feel like that's like how half of our nights go now, because now there's like there's like a core group that like go to some of the events, so like we all have inside jokes with each other. So I feel like now we just speak in the inside jokes. I think I even said something to like Josie the other day. I was just like, how I just wonder what we look like on the other, like, to someone else who doesn't know anything about us. Like, I can only imagine.
Yeah. Well, and so before we let you go to enjoy the rest of your night, I need some like personal advice here. So the Grand Midway Hotel is like literally like 45 minutes from me, and I might go in August. I'm coming back from Ocean City, Maryland on the night that they're having it. So like we're coming back in the morning. That's like a 6-hour drive. And then like I'd be home for a couple hours and I'll go straight into that investigation from like 8 to 8. So tell me about the Grand Midway and what I should prepare for.
So Grand Midway Hotel is pretty fun. It is an artist. It used to be a hotel for the little area back in the day. And then over time it transformed into an artist retreat, and the owner, Blair, who got it, actually won it on an eBay auction for like 10 grand. He moved from California with a couple of friends in the dead of winter, and he kind of created the Grand Midway Hotel. It was just him and his friends. They made it into an artist retreat. And then over time, his friends kind of backed out, and he just kind of took over everything for the Grand Midway. There are probably, I want to say there's 3 floors. There's the second and third floor are all rooms that you can rent out. They're each their own theme. And you know, like one is like an aquatic theme, but then it has like a room attached to it where it's like a TV and a whole bunch of DVDs and VHS tapes, and it's like all based on like old horror movies. There's like a vampire suite with like a secret room that has 2 coffins. But the most compelling room, I guess you can say, is the canopy room on the second floor. That is one of the rooms that 90% of the people who try to sleep in there do not make it through the night. I actually slept in there and I made it through the night. I don't know how. I don't remember falling asleep. I actually took a video that I don't even remember taking.
Wow.
She's still investigating even in her sleep, people.
Yeah. So like the last time we went there was like last April. Also they have the world's biggest Ouija board on top of the roof. That's hand painted.
Oh yeah.
And they even had the world's biggest tarot card on the ceiling that's also hand painted, and it's gorgeous.
Whoa.
They also have a doll room that is filled with Anne Rice's dolls from her collection, which is the horror writer.
Right.
For Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah.
He somehow managed to get her entire doll collection, and he brought him over to Grand Midway. So that's super fun. But the canopy room is weird. It has a life-size haunted doll in there that sits in a chair. When I slept in the bed, I thought I was going to kick her in the head the entire time. So I was like trying not to move. I was like, I know for a fact I'm just going to pop her right in the back of the head. I'm not going to meet it. I don't know what to do. There's also a Reagan doll in the closet from The Exorcism. So great full circle right there. I had that staring at me the entire time.
Oh no.
And then next to the side of the bed is a nun. It's like this nun statue. And they say that she apparently haunts your dreams. She'll show up in your dreams. I don't know what she does in your dreams or if she talks to you. But Blair said she has popped up in a couple of his. Oh. She didn't pop up in mine, but the video that I don't remember taking was me zooming in on her.
I'm literally regretting asking. I'm like, I'm not going anymore. I'm not going.
Oh no, go. If you don't sleep in the canopy room, there are like other rooms to sleep in. But I will say the entire place it's like somewhat haunted. You might have a quiet night. You might hear like a few people like walking around at night, or like some like little things here and there. Our friends had the DR60, and whenever we laid it on the doll's leg in the canopy room, it made this screaming sound. Almost to the point where we thought the DR was broken, because every time we played it back, it sounded like it was like a mechanical scream. So we're just like, it has to be that. But then we'd go and put it in a different room and lay it down somewhere, and nothing would happen. So
wow,
I don't know what that's about, but yeah,
creepy.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm super excited. Fun. Yes,
have so much fun. There's a sheets on the corner. I always get sheets, and then I take it right back up to the rooftop.
I was literally going. I was going
Have
to
a sheets
ask you
picnic.
about this because I lived in Colorado for 10 years, and I swear to God, the one thing I missed the most was sheets. No
I didn't
sheets
even
in
know
the
that they had
Midwest.
it in Colorado.
No, they didn't. That's what I
Oh.
mean. 10 years, and the one thing I missed most about Pennsylvania, where I live right now, is that they have a sheets on every corner. I could run to one right now, and like I do very often.
How
Mhm.
does it feel to live my life or my
Yo,
dreams?
when I see you post sheets, I just have to laugh because I'm like, girl, I get it. I 100%
Oh my
get
god.
it.
So like now there's one on like at the exit of Madison. So whenever we're at the seminary, we go there. Like I'm not kidding, the last time we were at Madison Seminary, people found out we were going to Sheets and they like waited for us afterwards.
Oh.
So a group of 15 of us rolled up to Sheets at 4 in the morning, and like the entire time, because like I paid in cash, I didn't use like their self-checkout. The entire time I was like, I'm so sorry, we just bombarded at 4 in the morning. Like I'm like, take your time. Like I don't even need to eat. It's fine. Like just you do you. And like then like some drunk guy was in there. I think he was pissed that he had to wait for his order. He asked if we were all like a soccer team or something. So we were like, yeah, we just
Look at our
wrapped up a
jerseys.
good game. Like we all just like kept going, and we were just like hanging out with him. But yeah,
You want to see all walks of life. You go
Oh
to
my
Sheets
God.
at 3:00 in the morning.
Oh my god, I've
Oh
made
God.
the trek to like go to Sheets. Like I had an off day from work the one time, and I was like, I'm bored. I want to go explore, and I go. Time to go to the South Towns. I'm like, I can end my day at Sheets and then just drive back home. It's only an hour and a half away.
Oh
So
my
last
God,
question,
amazing.
I have to know, what is your go-to Sheets order?
Oh my god.
Because I get mozzarella sticks at any point in time.
Oh my
3
God.
a.m. when I'm drunk, 8 a.m. when I wake up, 2 p.m. little snacky snack, whatever. That's what I get every time.
I really like their wraps. I'm a big Turkey Club wrap person, and I always get it with lettuce, mayo, banana peppers, and oil and vinegar on it. So that's usually my go-to. But lately, I've been getting into the Caesar salad or like the Caesar wrap, which is super freaking good. And then they don't do this. They don't shake the sauces anymore, which I'm pissed about because I had to do it on my own the one time, and I was. Oh my god! I was just like, you guys could just shake this for me; it'd be fine.
It doesn't taste the same when I do it myself.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the same, and like I'm trying to drive, so like it doesn't work.
Right?
But their chicken nuggets are really good too. It was really funny that you asked me this because someone, some like urban explorer jumped into my DMs and were like, "Hey, we're going to Sheets for the first time. What should I order?" And I was like, "Oh my god! Like, is this truly happening?"
This is the first
like,
I even told her, I was like,
right?
I was like, listen, I get the basic order. Like, this is like, when I find something I like, I just stick to it, and like, I'll go off the menu a little bit. But like, yeah, this is what I got. I'm like, other people say like this is good too, but
That is
hell yeah.
hilarious.
First
So
name basis with like the manager at Sheets. So when like
Oh
every time
my
she
God.
gets my like order in like the to go like app, you know,
Yeah.
like I just walk in and like get it every time, and I feel like
that's me
everyone's
with
looking at me
Dunkin'
like, "What are you
Donuts.
doing?"
Oh yeah, that's me with Dunkin'
Dunkin'.
Donuts. The one time, so I always do the drive up because usually I go in there on lunch. I'll do the app, and I'll pull up. And the one time I was like, I rolled down the window and I was about to say like app order for Courtney, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can just pull around. We saw your car pull in," and I'm just like, okay. I was just like,
You're on their favorites list.
Yeah.
it's always the same thing. I mean, how hard can you mess up a large latte with just extra stuff in it? Like, how hard can that be?
This is true.
But yeah,
Oh man.
I was like, I think I made it.
I love
I
it.
might need to take a break from this one.
Man, the next time I come to the States, I need to experience Sheets. I only like you guys can experience Tim Hortons here.
I have some Hortons.
You know what though? Like
You guys
we
have
were
it.
so excited for Penhurst because there was like a sheet. Well, no, there was a Wawa because we were in Philly. I lied.
Yeah.
There was
Okay,
a Wawa.
Wawa.
Lame. Don't. Sheets forever. But if there was a Sheets, I feel like that's like subconsciously why we didn't go get anything to eat because I knew
I
it was going to be
think so.
Wawa, and I was like, fuck Wawa. So I was like, let's just go and eat at Penhurst.
Big mistake.
Yep.
Never again.
We had one beer because that was like what we could like, you know, get in line to get. And then we went to go talk to like Ghost afterwards, and I was like, bro, like we didn't like pee today. Like and we didn't eat anything and we didn't do
And I was like, we're in like, I forget which section. I'm like walking around with a beer in there. I'm like, this is weird. Like the ghosts are gonna think I'm an alcoholic now. Like,
You'll be committed next.
apparently. Well, for
Did
some
you not
reason,
say that? Like,
for some reason, I have just felt this pull to Penhurst. Like when I saw the tickets online, I was like, I have to go. I don't care how much money it is. I'm going. And when I was there, like you said about that one place, like you just felt calm. I felt weirdly calm at Penhurst. Like I could just stay there all day and I would totally have done a night tour.
Oh yeah.
But that was way more money. But next time,
Oh yeah.
it'll definitely call me back.
yeah,
That's
well, it's so
exciting.
crazy though that like you
Yeah.
did, like you said that before you even went though.
Mhm.
You were just like, I just feel like this weird, strange like connection. I wonder if it's gonna happen
Mhm.
when I'm there, and then like it did. So
Mhm.
it's wild that like how all of those things like call you and you go to them, and it's just
Yeah.
like okay, and it's just like that feeling that you get where like you're totally at peace and you're like, yep, I know
Mhm.
where I'm exactly supposed to be at this moment right now.
Mhm.
Yep. See, I have little pennies that like to tell me that. It's so weird because for like the last 4 years I've been finding an obnoxious amount of pennies in my path, and
Oh.
it's just been weird. Like right here, I have this little Dunkin' Donuts espresso cup filled
Oh,
with
wow.
pennies that I find over on my travels. And like the one that I remember that kind of kicked it off was when I went to Waverly Hills for the first time. I opened up my door and there was a penny right there, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
this is neat. Didn't really think anything of it. And
Mhm.
then after the investigation, there was one in my path when I was walking in my car. So I was like, cool, another one. And then about 2 months
Mm.
later, I found 3 in one night at Madison. There was one right at my feet when I walked into like the little bunkhouse. I was standing there before, didn't even notice it. And then we walked inside after the event started. I was looking underneath the table, like that was just like in the distance. I just kept seeing something under the table, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And then when someone walked by, I was like, "Hey, what's under that table?" And they were like, "Oh, it's a penny." And I was like, thought so." And then the weirdest one was at like 2 in the morning. I put my bags down in the asylum over by one window, and I was like, I want to do my Estes over there, so I'm just gonna leave my stuff. And we started walking some people down because they wanted to leave for the night. So about like 15 minutes later, everyone else was downstairs, and we all walked back up. And I went over by my bag, and I still have a picture of it. There's a penny sitting perfectly on the baseboard next to where my book bag was that wasn't there before. So I was just like, oh, okay. And now it's just been a thing.
wild.
Now it's just been a thing.
Have you ever
like, when
looked
you
at like the
find all of
year
that-
though?
Mhm.
Like every time you
Some
look
of-
at
Yeah, some of them have like 2016, some of them have like 2022, like they're all dated, and then some of them are like, some of them I really question how I find them because they're so badly damaged or like just corroded, and like you just can't even tell if they're a penny, and then like I'll look down and be like, no shit. Like
I see
it's a
you.
penny. You can barely tell that it is, but it's one that I found.
Wow.
Yeah.
Becca, do they have a story to them? Because I feel like you know, like the things like behind certain stuff of like why it comes in the path, or
Well, like dimes are a big thing. I sometimes will find dimes randomly, and usually dimes I think represent something to do with either someone is visiting you,
Mhm.
or someone's coming to visit you, or if you think about like sometimes if I think about like a relative or something, I'll find like a dime, and I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you for the
right,
acknowledgement.
like, you put this here for
Mhm.
me.
But
Right?
pennies always mean luck, though. I thought so. Maybe
My
every
great
time you see
grandma
one, you're
used
lucky.
to say that. She's always be like,
Yeah.
if you see a penny and it's like tails up, heads down, don't touch
Yeah.
it. You're not supposed to. And then like if you see it like heads up, like, you know, do that. And then my grandma, so like her daughter always used to say the same thing. It's just been kind of like passed down to us
Yeah,
about
I
like,
feel like it's like a weird generation tale because I've always heard them as like pennies from heaven. Like it's just like someone saying hello or something like that.
Yeah.
But like I don't know why I always attribute it to me being like at the right place at the right time, or just like kind of like it's just like a little nudge to be like, yeah, you're doing okay. Like it is
Yeah.
what it is. But if I ever find that psychic that I went back to a couple years ago, that's gonna be the only question I ask her. Be like, what's up with the
Yeah.
pennies?
Yeah, well, and it's so like you mentioned, like, okay, well, this is like what it means to me. And it's like that's really what matters is like whatever subjectively like we take from something means something to us and it's something to hold on to. So we appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing
this is so
everything.
Much fun.
I love
such a freaking blast. Are you kidding me?
Yay. We'll definitely have to have you back on again.
Oh my god, I'm so here for it. And by that, I'm sure I'll have more spooky stories.
Oh, yeah.
We cannot wait to hear
mugs.
them.
Yes. I love it.
Well, and next up, you know, we have a guest who's no stranger in the paranormal community. The list of his experiences and the roles that he plays could go on for freaking days. So we are excited to welcome YouTube sensation and Haunted Nights founder Steve Brott, and you're not going to want to miss this. So I'm giving...
For whoever is not watching, she just gave him a thumbs down, everyone. Sorry, Steve.
Right?
It's fine because
the first question we're going to ask him is like, what did you do to get on Courtney's bad side? Or she
Yeah.
just has
what didn't he do? What didn't he do? No, but I will say before we go, a really fun thing with me and your next guest, Steve, is that we live on the other side of New York. So we're about like 5 hours from each other. But our paths were supposed to cross at least 4 times before they did. And I'm pretty sure they did, and we just didn't realize it. So
talk about timing. Like,
it's really weird. It's really weird how we all found each other because we started talking on Instagram. I don't know what he posted. I think I followed him, and then he might have posted something about Waverly Hills. And that was my number 1 bucket spot. So we started talking, and then he was showing me videos, and then we just started, like, getting into it, and then we were like, oh, you went to Rolling Hills, and then we're just like, oh, wait, I went to that, like, same thing, so, you know, after we talked for a little bit, we realized that we went to the same, like, our first ghost hunt was the same, it was at the Buffalo Central Terminal, with people from Ghost Hunters. We just went a year apart. So I had Steve and Tango and John Zaffis on my ghost hunt, and he had like Amy Bruni and Jason Hawes on his. And then a couple years went by, and we actually did the application to become volunteers at Rolling Hills. I got the interview, but I couldn't make it, so because I was in Disney. So him and his now wife, they were volunteers. So I'm pretty sure if I would have went to that interview, we would have been volunteers together. And then even though because I didn't volunteer, I still always took my friends there to get out of going to the haunted houses and stuff and just to investigate. So I'm pretty sure he was my tour guide a couple times. And now look at us.
Look at you now.
We are friends who have seemed like a sister-brother relationship that I never really wanted, but yet here it is, and we can't get rid of each other.
I love that.
I feel like you talk about Steve like Steve talks about Dylan.
A little bit, yeah. So the way I look at it is that because I practically live with these boys on the weekends, so like we have that like weird brother-sister relationship where we make fun of each other constantly, but like there's still love there, but it's just like, dear God, like you two are truly the brothers I never wanted in my life.
But absolutely must have.
But I absolutely adore them. I will say that. Like we give each other shit a lot of the time. It looks like it online that all we do is just make fun of each other, and like we kind of do, but like I have nothing but love and respect for those two guys, especially Steve, because I wouldn't have gone to a lot of the places that I have been able to go to because I help them out a lot with the Haunted Nights events. And jumping on with those was something that I never really expected to happen or even thought would happen. I just went to one Waverly Hills night with him, and then I jumped on one Haunted Nights event, and the rest is history. So I have a lot to thank them for. And like I said, we make fun of each other all the time. It's all love, but like I truly support and like I'm very grateful for this adventure and like everyone that is brought into my life, including you guys, including like anyone who's followed me, including them. So
yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and we definitely appreciate you being able to allow us to be on it. So I feel like it's our celebratory cheers to end our episode here today, guys. We hope that you loved it as much as we did.
Yes.
Oh my god, I loved it so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
No problem.
Cheers.
Have a good weekend, y'all.
Yeah.
You too.
Bye.